I'm very pleased to be here on My Magical Thing with Anthony Peake, podcaster, researcher, author, writing about the borderline states of human consciousness. Anthony, it's lovely to have you here.
And it is fascinating to be talking to you, Julian, as well.
Well, my friend, please may we see your magical thing?
Yes, my magical thing is this.
Oh, yes.
Okay. This is something that whenever I'm writing, I always have it in front of me. And it's something that inspires me. And of course, it's the human brain, and it's a model of the human brain. And I thought long and hard about what my magical thing would be. And I realized that the most important thing to me that's always fascinated me is about what is existence. And here I am, experiencing something for an incredibly short period of time. And I'm reminded here of the writings of Émile Goncourt, the French writer in the 19th century, who said that life is a nothing between two epileptic seizures, which I always thought was quite fascinating, because of course we are born having an epileptic seizure and we die having an epileptic seizure. So for me, the greatest mystery of all is, what is consciousness? What am I? What is deeply inside of me? What defines me? And the question of other consciousnesses as well. You know, what exactly is, how do we know that other people aren't zombies? How do we know that we're not living in some form of simulation? These are all things that have intrigued me for an awful long time.
So rather than having a Memento Mori on the desk, a memory of death, a reminder of death, you've instead got what would it be? A sort of memento a mentalis or something, a memento of like the mental state of awareness, a memento psyche, perhaps.
Yes. Yes, in many ways, when you put it in that way, I'm reminded again of Henri Corbin, the great French Sufi philosopher, and his argument of the mundus imaginalis, the idea that the world we live in is created out of imagination. And in my writings, I very much focus in on what I call the egregorial concept, and the idea that we collectively create external reality out of our anticipations of what external reality should be. And I've always then been intrigued by the role of quantum mechanics in terms of consciousness, and how it is that we effectively collapse a wave function within quantum mechanics, and the idea there is a wave function which is a statistical wave. Effectively, it's not even a wave in our normal understanding of it. It's a statistical wave, that something is going to be in one location rather than another. And before that wave is measured or observed, it has potentiality, but no actuality. Whereas as soon as it is measured or observed, it becomes a point particle located in space and time. And this has long fascinated me, because if it is true that the arguments of people like Hamerhoff and Penrose, and their arguments, they have a concept called orchestrated objective reduction, which is the idea that the brain works in quantum ways. So effectively we have something quantum processing something quantum, and it seems like almost an infinite regress. The idea of what on earth is going on? Is this a hologram? Is this, it's just the wonder of life, really.
So in your meditations and in your writing, that object is on the desk. Anthony, could we have another look at the brain?
Absolutely. There you go.
Fantastic. Look at that.
So
where's it from? Where was this particular brain purloined from?
My wife bought it for me for Christmas around about 12 years ago, and it's a model, so it comes apart, so you can actually pull it apart, so you can pull the sections apart. So if you want to understand the role of the frontal lobes, you can open it up and you see the structures inside. So it's very, very cleverly designed. I'll probably never be able to get it back together again now, but effectively you can break it apart, so you'll see how the cerebellum works, and how these very strange structures in the middle. And of course, right in the middle is the mysterious pineal gland and the role of the pineal gland. And again, in my writings, I've long been fascinated by the role of what the pineal gland is, and indeed its role in something we're both interested in, the generation of potentially endogenous, internally generated dimethyltryptamine. And myself and a couple of researchers in America are really quite fascinated by the implications of this. because we suggest that the pineal gland processes from melatonin endogenous DMT, which we call metatonin. And again, it's always intrigued me that something I read many, many years ago, which is very, very fascinating. You know, there is the concept of Kakara mudra, the idea you place your tongue at the back of the neck, back of the throat. What is intriguing is that on the 49th day of gestation, and this is intriguing, 49th day Buddhism is where the soul is supposed to come into the body from Tibetan Buddhism. The idea is that, well, it's not the idea, it is known neurologically that the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are a single unit called the epiphysis, and that sits at the back of the throat of the embryo. And what happens is, as the embryo develops, the epiphysis moves to the center of the brain, where the pituitary gland and the pineal gland split into two, leaving something called Rathke's cleft, which runs down the back of the throat. Now, if there is a reasoned argument to say that the pineal gland generates endogenous DMT, as Rick Strassman has argued, then what could happen is when it's creating this, there is a kind of a release of a nectar, ambrosia, amrit, whatever we want to call it, which would leak down Rathke's pouch to the back of the throat, which is what somebody would be doing if they were doing Kakara mudra. So it seems there is a linkage here. And of course, if the pineal gland creates DMT, and DMT is our reality modulator, then we have the question of, well, is the DMT creating not only the external reality around us, but also in some way the pineal gland itself? You know, it's almost like by his bootstraps here.
We're going to have to get into that as like a more detailed conversation another time. There's so much to kind of explore in that. And of course, that simple object, that simple model representation of the brain is the gateway to the mind, which seems to be this remarkable, possibly infinite space of conjecture and discovery. So Anthony Peake, thank you so much for the opportunity to see your magical thing and hear a little bit about the kind of the research and the work that you're interested in. It's really appreciated, my friend. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Julian.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Wonderful. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.